updated my camera / gear kit quite a bit recently. I get a lot of questions asked about it, and I don't really talk about gear much on this channel, so I thought I'd put it all together in one big gear video. Here we go, this is all my stuff. I'm gonna talk about all of the new gear that I've bought recently, as well as the rest of the stuff that's in my kit, including the programs that I use to make my videos. But first, I wanna start with the most exciting purchase, obviously, the new Sony A7S III. Very, very, very exciting purchase. I actually ordered this a few months ago. It's definitely still getting used to a couple of things, getting used to the new colors and the ins and outs of how to get the best quality footage. But so far, I freaking love it. The previous camera that I was using is the Sony A7S III. I do love that camera. I've used it for a bit of maybe 3 years now, and it's still doing great, but I started to notice recently the focus was not great. It would just go in and out and it wouldn't be able to focus on anything. It feels like there's something wrong there. So it kind of felt time, you know, felt time for an upgrade. But anyway, the things that I love about this camera is obviously 4K 120 frames per second. The colors are just so beautiful. Even if you're filming without any picture profiling, not filming in S-Log, they're just so nice. They're much more natural colors. They're warmer colors. It kind of looks a little more towards like a Canon color palette, which is really nice because Canon really nail their colors every time. Another thing that I love is the focus. Wow, the focus is so on point every single time. You can see right now that I'm filming. It's got the teeny tiny little box around my eye. I can move anywhere within the frame and I'm still in focus the whole time. Look at that, it's beautiful, it's amazing. Close my eye, it's gone. It's still there, it's still tracking me. I love that there's a flippy screen. Finally, Sony has listened to us. I never use a flippy screen when I'm like filming out and about, but when I'm sitting down filming a video like this, it's so good to know that I'm still in frame, I'm still in focus, and that the camera is still recording. Also, there isn't a record limit on this one, I'm pretty sure, whereas the previous camera stopped at like 25 minutes. Basically, everything about this camera is just easier and better. It's just a major improvement on what they've done before. It does everything that I want it to do, and I am very excited to continue making videos with it. However, one small little point that seems to be a running theme throughout me and my experience with Sony is that there's something wrong with the audio again. I don't know what it is. My previous camera, the audio jack input broke 3 times and it cost like $300 to fix every single time. This one, I don't know what exactly is the issue just yet, but it kind of sounds like the jack was put in halfway, even though it kind of wasn't. It was only picking up the really high tones. It wasn't getting any bass. It was really quiet. I don't know, man, I don't know. Sounds like something that's really gonna piss me off in a couple of months' time. Haven't really figured out what the problem is yet. I'm not gonna say anything definitive, but yeah, we'll see. The next thing that I wanna talk about is the new Insta360 ONE X2. They very kindly sent this to me, so thank you very much to them. I'm not getting paid for this, but I am supposed to talk about it in a video, and I'm happy to do so. I really enjoy playing around with 360 footage. It offers such a crazy unique perspective that you would never get with a regular kind of action camera. It's definitely not the kind of camera that I would use for just general vlogging or like cinematic videos. It's not good for what I would want it for, but I can't freaking wait to use this when I go like snowboarding, for example. I've only had the chance to use it a couple of times and it's just a fun device. It's really so fun to play around with different angles and perspectives and effects, and really the possibilities are so just endless with this kind of device. So basically you can connect via Bluetooth to an app on your phone, and then you can edit the footage there. You can change the perspective to face whatever direction that you want it to face. You can make it a tiny planet, you can make it a panorama, which looks really weird most of the time. The app took me a little bit to get used to, but it's actually quite simple once you get the hang of it, which is really nice. The stitching, which is so there's a lens here and there's a lens here. The stitching is the part that's right in the center. I will say that it does look a little bit strange if it goes over someone's face. That is definitely slightly strange. It can also look quite strange when I filmed at nighttime. I went go-karting. I think it was probably just because it was nighttime and the what's it called? The outdoor lighting, just the lights. The lights shone onto the lens, which you can see very minuscule, tiny little scratches on. You know, you can very noticeably kind of see the switch, but it's all because it was nighttime. But I think if you're filming in daytime conditions, if it was very bright, open and sunny, I think that it wouldn't really be very noticeable unless it goes over someone's face, which is, it's always quite funny. It has a little display screen on it here, so you can see what you're filming and you can see that it's recording, you can see what the settings are and things like that. Yeah, yeah, no, it's so helpful to have the screen. It's really, really good. Another thing that will offer you the most crazy, wild perspective ever is when you're using their invisible selfie stick. It's just a really, really, really long, really quite a long stick like so. And because the stick sits right underneath the Insta360 camera, it just turns invisible and it offers the wildest, strangest perspective ever that leaves most people asking, how on earth did you film that? Because it really kind of does look like there's a drone just following you around. Now, would I recommend this over a regular action camera like a GoPro? The thing about having this kind of 360 camera is there is a slight kind of hurdle that you've got to get over when it comes to editing the footage. If you are really just going on these trips for fun and you want to play around with footage later and just have some fun memories with your friends, I think a 360 camera would be a great way to do that. It's so much fun and you can get the coolest looking footage. But if you're making a lot of videos and you're making things like specifically for YouTube or to make your own cinematic kinds of videos, apparently there is a plugin that you can use in Final Cut and Adobe. I couldn't get it to work on my Final Cut, but until I get that figured out, I've got to edit it on their Insta360 Studio first, export that video, and then import that video into Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere, whatever it is that you're using. But it also depends what it is that you want to be doing. Obviously, with something like a GoPro, you can be a bit more rough with it. You can be pretty rest assured that it's not going to break on you. This one is waterproof, apparently, but you need an underwater case to get good underwater footage. I'm quite skeptical. I don't know how shockproof it is. I don't have a lot of confidence that it wouldn't get scratched, or this little screen looks very fragile to me. So it really does depend what it is that you're going to be doing with it. But if you're just doing it for fun and you want to play around with some really, really cool, interesting looking footage, I can highly recommend getting this Insta360 ONE X2. It's a major improvement from their previous 360 cameras. So if you're looking to get a 360 camera in general, this one is great. Thank you so much to Insta360 for sending this little beast of a camera to me. If you are interested in getting one of these, check out the link in the description. The next thing I'd love to talk about is my new favorite brand of camera equipment and camera gear, and that's Peak Design. Wow, I love Peak Design so much. The first thing obviously is the tripod that I got, and I talked about this previously. The tripod is beautiful. It's really, really lightweight. It folds down super small. It's very slim and it's easy to just fit in your bag. I'm not holding it because I'm using it right now. The one limitation that I find is kind of annoying, the base of the tripod, you need a little extra Allen key to tighten it up. This is only annoying like if you want to attach it to other cameras or other things, but I will say the little camera clip on the bottom of it that you need the attachment for, and they've created a bunch of other products that you can use the same clip that clips into, including this bag clip, which is what I've got now. So then that means that when you're walking or something like that and you don't want to hold onto your camera, you can just clip it into your bag. It just stays there, and I've got confidence that this thing is so strong. It's absolutely strong enough to hold my camera there in place. And then when you want it out, they've got this little release clip on the side here. You just press that and you can camera. You can camera. And the final Peak Design thing I want to talk about is their little wrist cuff thing, which is what I've got right here. This part clips in very nicely into the Peak Design quick release clips here. It's very, very easy. Just slip it on like so, and that's it, nice and on. And then when you want to take it off, you just unclip it to push it down, and then it's off. I made that look really hard. It's not actually very hard. It's very easy to take it on and off just like that. And I love it so, so, so much. It's so easy. And to tighten the strap, all you have to do is this. It's very small, it's minimal, it's sleek, and it's just a little extra safety just in case. And it's beautiful, it's sleek, it's minimal, and I love it. The next thing on the list that I'm really excited to talk about is the best GoPro mount clip accessory that I think I've ever bought in my life. So I'm using the GoPro Hero 7. It's good, it's fine, it's whatever. This clip though, this is where it's at. This is a mouthpiece. Just like that. It's perfect, it's beautiful. I love it. Basically, anytime I go on a trip, this is the only accessory I ever want to take with me. This is so small and it's tiny, and I can just like clip it on my bag if I want to. Put it on like this, whatever. Both my hands are free, I can do whatever I want. It's amazing. It's so great. And the last thing that I've bought recently is a Volcom Gore-Tex winter coat, winter jacket. It's mostly a hard shell. It's lightly insulated. It's Gore-Tex, which means that it's very, 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 very waterproof. And I also just love that it's plain black, it's minimal, and it's also still quite flattering in a way. Like I don't I don't feel like a giant marshmallow when I wear it, which is nice. I'm gonna be using it for a lot of things. Very multi-purpose, simple, minimal kind of jacket, and I really like it. And yeah, that's it for the gear that I've bought in the past couple of months. As I'm sure you can tell, there's a lot of money that's been spent recently, so thank you Squarespace for sponsoring this video. But yeah, that's it for the new gear that I've got to talk to you about. And yeah, everything else is pretty much the same. I'm still using my DJI Mavic Pro 2 drone. I love it dearly. I was this close to just buying the Mavic Air 2 just because it's lighter, so when I go on hiking trips and stuff like that, I can not carry as much weight with me. I just thought I would hold off a little bit. Felt too much like an impulse buy. Yeah, I'm still using my GoPro, still using my Tascam DR10L lav mic. What else is there? What else am I using? Oh, lenses. Yeah, I'm still using my, what are they? This is a Sony A7S III f4 16 to 35mm lens. This is the main lens that I use for pretty much all of my videos. 16 to 35mm is a really great base for if you're doing landscape videography or just vlogging in general. 16mm is when you want to hold the camera out to talk to the camera at arm's length. You want to make sure that it's not going to be so tight in on your face that fills the whole entire screen. You can't see anything else. I've done that before in the past and it's not pretty. And 35 is, you know, a nice mid kind of close-up range. And the other lens that I have that I really love and I would highly recommend to anyone, the nifty 50 lens. I don't know if it's in focus. It's f1.8, which means that'll get you really nice bokeh. And it's 50mm, so it's quite a bit closer in, so I'll use that for close-ups or shooting stuff that's a bit further away. Other gear that I use, there's an ND2 to 400 filter on this little 50 lens right here. It's a variable filter, which means I can change it depending on how light or dark I want it to go. And I also have a variable ND filter from K&F Concept, another one that I can change how light or dark it is depending on the conditions. In terms of things that I own that I don't really need to own, GorillaPod. Used to use this baby all the time. This is a Joby GorillaPod, and I felt like I needed it just because like Casey Neistat had it, and like people have it on your camera, and then you put your camera on the end like that, and you're like, yeah, I'm a YouTuber, I've got a GorillaPod. But GorillaPods kind of suck. They're really finicky, and it's like, I do also still have a gimbal. I have the Zhiyun Weebill S. It's wonderful. It's an amazing gimbal. It's the best one that I've ever used. But yeah, real pain in the ass to take with me if I'm like going on a trip somewhere, especially if I'm with friends. It's just not worth my time. Definitely do use it for sometimes or for like commercial shoots or if I'm hired as a videographer, but not for my own videos. I don't feel like it needs it. I also realized the other day that I still own my Feiyutech A1000, which I didn't realize that I still had that. For some reason I thought that I'd already sold it. So yeah, if you're living in Japan and you're looking for a Feiyutech A1000 gimbal, I'm selling it for this much money. In terms of post-production, I use Final Cut Pro. Sorry, there's little flies in my room. I use Final Cut Pro X to edit all of my videos. I have always used Final Cut Pro. No, I don't want to update to Adobe. Just can't be bothered. And Final Cut does everything that I want it to do, and that's the end of it. And for music, I use Musicbed and Artlist. I do also use Artlist. I use both of them. However, I think Musicbed is my favorite one. Just easier to navigate through and to filter through the different kinds of music, because it can take hours to find good music for videos. Actually, speaking of Musicbed, they sent me this really nice, I guess the Americans would call it a sweatshirt. I love it. It's actually really cool. I feel like a very cool person when I wear it. Yes, I'm a Musicbed ambassador, so if you're interested in signing up, they've got beautiful music on their site. There's a link in the description down there. There's a link for everything that I'm talking about in the description. And in terms of color grading, I get a lot of questions about color grading because my videos have a very obvious different look to how they used to look. I used to just film things without any kind of picture profile or anything, and then I upgraded to filming things in Cine 4 picture profile on the Sony. In terms of my recent videos, I've started filming in S-Log, which is basically a very flat picture profile on the Sony cameras. Like, this is what it looks like without any kind of LUT or anything on top of it, but then this is just with the Rec 709 LUT on top of it. When I expose for it, I expose to the right, which is like 1.7 or 2 full stops overexposed. Basically, you overexpose it so that you get a lot of detail in the shadows. But yes, anyway, the LUTs that I use to color grade my footage, I wish that I could say like, oh, I've just been like working really hard and I've made my own presets and you can go buy them. Nope. I bought them from another YouTuber. His name is Henbu, and they're really beautiful. I really like the way that they look. One of them's really warm, one of them's a bit green, magenta-ish, and the other one is a bit more blue, like orange teal kind of look. I definitely don't just use them like just as is. Definitely probably not put it at 100%, maybe bring it down to like 50 or 60 and then kind of work your way up from there and change a couple of the other details yourself. Yeah, I think that's a big mistake that a lot of people make when they're using LUTs and that kind of thing. I don't know, I feel like every YouTuber makes their own presets and their own LUTs, so I don't know what I'm doing wrong, guys. It's tough. But anywho, yeah, I asked you on Instagram if you had any questions for me about gear, which I'm going to get onto in just a minute. But first, I'd love to talk about this video sponsor, which is Squarespace. Squarespace is the website that helps you create your own website in a very beautiful, easy to use, and very professional way. I've got my own Squarespace site. I've actually got all of my gear listed on there, so you can go and check that out if you're interested. And I love the way that it looks. I loved how easy it was to set up. I love how easy it is to maintain. The user interface on Squarespace isn't something that I would talk about much, but it's actually very easy to maintain your site and make sure that it looks at its best at all times, keep it up to date. If you've got a blog, you can edit it on the go using their mobile site. You can also connect all of your social media accounts to the site itself. It's just really simple to use, and it's just really nice to have everything all in one spot. I really love having a Squarespace site, and I think that if you're a social media person or if you just want to have a professional presence on the internet, having your own site is a wonderful way to do that, and having a Squarespace site is an easy way to do that. How's that for a tagline? So if you are interested in getting started on Squarespace, go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and then when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/currentlyhannah for 10% off your first purchase of a domain or a website. Right, onto some questions. I suppose I didn't really need to ask on Instagram because clearly I've got a lot to talk about already. I've already answered some of these questions before, but I'll just kind of go through a couple of extras. I've got a lot of questions from people asking what's the best inexpensive option for a beginner or someone just starting out. And I would just say your phone. These iPhones, if you're writing me a message on Instagram, it means you have somewhat of a smartphone. And the cameras on these things are getting so good. And I know it doesn't feel super like professional to be holding a phone to film something, but there is some people that have made their whole career just filming stuff on their iPhone. And I've seen some people that have made some really beautiful hiking videos with this or travel videos with just their phone. If you really don't know where to start and you haven't made any videos before, just start on your phone, and if you find that you like it, then maybe you can upgrade from there. I would say the next step up kind of camera would be something like the Canon G7X Mark II. This is one of my first ever vlogging cameras. Quite good stabilization. It's a point and shoot, which means that even if it's just in auto, you'll pretty much get everything looking good for the first time, like quite easily. It has a flip up screen so you can see what you're filming. The audio is not bad. It's just a really great all-around camera. I think it's about $700 maybe, $600-700. Blah, 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 blah. Somebody asked me, what's the best kind of camera? How do you figure out what kind of camera is best for you? And my answer to this is always the same. The best camera is the one that you're going to use all the time, the one that you're going to use the most, the one that you're going to want to use. If you just go out there and you're quite a beginner and you just buy a high-end, really expensive camera and it's big and it's hefty and it's very confusing and you don't know what's going on, it's not going to be motivating. It's going to be really tough. It's a steep learning curve at the very start. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's really hard. So if you just jump straight into the high-end camera from the start, you're not going to want to film, and it will probably just collect dust. Whereas if you just start filming stuff with your phone, just being real casual about it, or you start filming stuff with a smaller camera that's a point and shoot, you're way more likely to film more stuff with it. So yeah, it depends. Whatever camera you're going to use the most, that's the one that you should get. Someone else asked, how do you know when it's time to upgrade? I think it's time to upgrade either when your previous equipment that you're already using has died, or if you've used it until the end of its life, which is what a satisfying feeling that is, or when the gear that you're using, the limitations start to get in the way. Sometimes limitations are good because it can help you problem solve. It can help you come up with your own solutions of how to fix things. So my Sony A7S III, when I'm filming in 4K, I can only film up to 30 frames per second, I think, but I film everything in 24 frames, which means that I had to get really good at getting very smooth B-roll without a gimbal and without any slow motion. and now I'm actually quite good at getting really slow shots without a gimbal. So yeah, sometimes limitations are a good thing, but sometimes when you're wanting to achieve a certain look, or you're wanting to up your editing game, up your filming game, like with 4K 120 frames per second, there's definitely some things that I want to try and some creative endeavors that I want to give a go, that I want to try out, that I want to go after, whatever. Night shooting settings. That is one thing that I've forgotten to talk about. I have used this at nighttime, and I didn't use any picture profile or anything like that, but I did get some video using their crazy, crazy, crazy high ISO. Oh wow, it's kind of unreal. Yeah, here we go. It is not completely nighttime, but it's pretty damn dark. How do we look? Are we crispy? Are we noisy? Probably not, because this camera is magic. And I was really blown away at how light it looks. Like it almost just kind of looks like night vision. I'm really, really excited to use that at nighttime. How do you get B-roll and still stay on schedule? I don't stay on schedule. I take a very long time when I do my hiking videos, and that's a big reason for why I do them by myself. Because if I was with a friend, I would get really self-conscious, and I'd feel bad for them for waiting for me to get shots all the time, especially if I'm like setting it up on a tripod and walking away and stuff like that. Oh boy, it's funny. Somebody asked, how often do you switch between lenses when you go on video shoots? I rarely switch up the lenses, mostly just because it's such a hassle, because usually the other lens is in my bag, and if I'm like hiking or I'm on a trip with friends, I just cannot be bothered to switch the lens. Have you ever had to replace a drone due to mishap? No, I've not. I have kind of crashed my drone into a couple of things. I've flown it through a tree at one point. Actually recently, when I went to this beautiful shrine out by the water, I wasn't watching, and I thought that my drone was somebody else's drone that was in the sky, and it wasn't, and it just kind of flew into a wall. But luckily it just kind of flew into a wall, bounced off, and then like stabilized itself, which is very lucky because also very close to the water. So yeah, no, it was a close call, but I haven't had to completely replace my drone because I've lost it yet. Knock on wood. Knock on something. Jeez, man, this is the longest 1 hour and 17 minutes. The longest time that I've ever sat in front of the camera to talk for one video. I think this is going to end up being a very long video. Hopefully not too long, but thanks for watching, guys. If you watch this all the way to the end, you're a freaking trooper, man. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I don't often talk about the gear and stuff like that, but the questions inevitably come up. So if you enjoyed this, or if you like my previous videos, or you want to know more about my gear or my editing process, do let me know in the comments below, and maybe I'll make a video about that in the future. It's getting close to the end of the year. It'll be Christmas soon, and then it will be 2021. We'll be done with 2020, therefore all of our problems will just magically go away. But anywho, yeah, this is probably the last video that I'll put out for the year. I hope that you had a wonderful Christmas. I hope that you have a fantastic new year. I hope that everyone's staying safe, healthy, sane, sanitized, all of that jazz. Thank you so much for your support over this past year. I think that this is video number 299. I was so close to this being my 300th video that I've made on this channel. 300 is a lot of videos when you think about it. Anyway, I'm going crazy. Thank you for watching. I'll see you guys next year. Bye.